Amanda, welcome to the program today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. CEO of Christian Aid. In a Christian realm, we think of Christian Aid and we think of the important work that it does. And to be the CEO of that organization must be a wonderful privilege, opportunity for you as well.
Indeed, it is. It's a learning curve. It's a blessing, and it's a huge lesson in humility.
I can imagine. But your journey to get to this point, I'm sure, has taken many paths. From Zambia, brought up in Zambia. What was it like for you in your early childhood, and as you explored your own Christian faith as a child growing up?
I come from a family background that it's a mixed family. So my father died when I was about 2 years old. I was very young. And my mother remarried when I was about 9, 10. And she got married to a man who had his own children, and his wife had died. So they came together and formed and created this mixed family, and they had 2 children together. So in total, we were about 13 of us. They were very committed Christians. Christianity was not something alien or strange to me, because it was in the home. And my father would pray with us. He would call us to prayer. Everybody was expected to be there. But when you're growing up as a child, you almost take that as just part of life. Sure. You don't, or at least I didn't think very deeply about it. It was only in later years, I think when I was at university, and it's maybe slightly before that, that I really started asking myself, who is God to me? I think that in my search, what I found was that I really wanted that personal experience. I didn't know what it would look like or feel like, but I really wanted to have that personal connection, And I came, I think, to my faith and to my I think, solid Christianity, but also to the Seventh-day Adventist church through music. A relative of mine, one of my uncles, his wife was Seventh-day Adventist. And during short breaks at university, I would go and stay at her house. And I just used to love hearing her sing. But there was a day that I think she was going for a funeral, and she said to me, "Come with me." So I went with her because it was in the evening. So I went with her, and we got there. We sat as people do in a Zambian context. The women sort of sat together, and then there was a small group. I think they were called the Revelators. The Revelators, yeah. A small group, a cappella, yeah. Mixed male and female, yeah. And they got up to sing. And they sang so beautifully, I tell you. But there was one song in particular, and translated, it's a song in one of the Zambian languages called Bemba, but translated it means Jesus is standing at the door and he's knocking. Will you, yes. Are you going to open the door for him? And that song just kept on going in my mind over and over and over again. After that, I said to my aunt, I said, you know what? I would like to hear them sing a bit more. And she said, come to church. And the rest is history.
As you continued in your Christian journey, obviously you were at university, you were studying for a particular path, a particular career. Where did God's hand lead you? What were some of the crossroads in your life after this experience?
So when I was at university, I studied law at the University of Zambia. And my intention was I was going to be a lawyer and I was going to be successful, all the dreams that you have when you're at that age, And things didn't work out like that. So I graduated. I went to law school, and I had a few challenges there. And so instead of then going into practice as a lawyer, I couldn't. So
so what were the obstacles there then that prevented you?
I failed one of my courses.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And I thought it was the end of the world, at that age. And my parents, but my mother in particular encouraged me to go back, and rewrite. Because of course, I think that I was a really good student. So something there happened. And instead of going back to rewrite, what I did is I got a job. I had done my dissertation on a subject on international trade. So what are called international rules of origin, where is the origin of certain products. So it is quite a specialist area, and I did that. And so when I was looking for a temporary job while I was getting ready to rewrite, I got a job in what is now called the Common Market for East and Southern Africa. Right. This is going all the way back, 91. And when I got in there, I completely flourished, and God opened a whole new path for me. And the reason why I'm saying God opened a whole new path for me is during that time, my mom said, let's stand together in prayer, right? And of course, we were praying that I should go back and rewrite, and that my future would be secure, and that I would be in a thriving career. Yeah. And the thriving career was taking off, okay. Right? Yeah. So, and that also has been a lesson for me, Richard, because sometimes you're praying and the answer is there and the path is there. But because you want an answer that looks and feels like what you know, you ignore Absolutely. The path and the answer, Absolutely. Right? Yeah. I worked for the Common Market and of Eastern and Southern Africa. I think I did well. And I was promoted. I was given a more long-term job. And my boss said to me, it was a female boss, a woman from Tanzania. She said to me, Amanda, you must just make sure that you deliver results. Because the results that you deliver, you can always take them away with you. You can take them with you. That's part of your CV of who you are. When I look back, I think, God, there was nothing that I did there to deserve you taking me and landing me on my feet, giving me the confidence, the skills and the knowledge to go on, and the strength, frankly, because I moved into a world where, there were big players there. This was an international job, and people had been in those careers for 30 odd years. And I was coming fresh from university, learning and making mistakes as I went along.
You could see God was leading you through other people. He was directing your path, and the skills that you acquired from that position obviously prepared you for what was to come in the future.
So I think maybe the most significant shift, obstacle and opportunity, I would describe it as all three, was when I left that comfortable job. Because I think even in that job, I think when I look back, I think my prayer life was lukewarm at best, But when I left that job, I came to the UK. My husband and I decided that we were going to move countries, come to the UK. I had been and got my master's degree by then. So I thought this is going to be straightforward. I've got a master's degree, I've got a first degree, I've got experience in working in international organization. All I have to do is come here, put in some applications, and voila, I'll be fine. So we move here, and I'm looking for a job. By this time, we've got a child, we've got a daughter, and shortly after that, we had our son. And I'm looking for a job, and I apply for everything that you could think of. Literally everything that I thought this should be an easy thing, I couldn't get it. And then I went to an employment agency, and one of the ladies there looked at me and she said to me, you know what, Amanda, if only you had some experience in this country, it would be good. Don't you have anything? Even cleaning experience is better than what you currently have on your CV. And I thought, wow. My goodness, my education counts for nothing. my experience counts for nothing. But cleaning in this country is what is going to get me into the employment ladder. I went away and trained as a care worker. And I started working. I was doing shifts. I think sometimes it was unhealthy because I was working quite a lot. Anyway, that was, Richard, for me, the time when I grounded myself firmly in God's love.
I mean, it must have been a humbling experience for you, to come to this country with the qualifications, with a thriving job that you had. I suppose you left Zambia on a high plateau and expecting to launch onto the next level. But it took a big dip for you.
For me, when I look at my entire career, I look at that period as the period when God wanted to reclaim who Amanda was.
Wow.
He wanted me to start. I had no other family in the country. He wanted me to rely on him, to know that at the end of the day, there's just me and him.
It was a major turning point for you.
It was, because then I went to church because I needed to go to church for me, for my relationship with God. I prayed because I wanted to have a relationship with God. It wasn't because there's so many people who go to church or this one is doing that. It was really a moment of me really understanding that I needed to have a personal relationship with God. That when I was weakest, that was the time when God was strongest in my life. And that was the turning point, I think. That was the trajectory for me that just turned a path spiritually. God could do great things with me. And I still wanted a career in international development. And during that time, I think the other thing that was happening in me was a shaping or maybe the crystallization that I really wanted to work with the most disadvantaged in communities, whether it was in this country, where I was focusing on women, ethnic minority women, or internationally. That became very clear in my mind. And so I started looking for jobs in that area. So when you fast forward, I started working with an international charity, a very small one. And then eventually I got a job. I went to work for the United Nations. Okay. And again, it's amazing how for many years, people who know me will tell you, Amanda has always said she wanted to work for the UN. And when I reached a certain point in my career, I said, Lord, I would like to go and work for the UN. And I started praying about it. I wrote it in a diary and I said, Lord, please help me find the right job for me where I will not bring your name to disrepute.
How did that transition to Christian Aid for you to be able to be in a position that you're in now? Because now you're talking about a global organization.
So I'm in the UN. I've been there several years, and I say to myself, Lord, I want to be able to speak like a Christian openly. I want to express my faith very openly. Give me a place where I can serve you in my job, not just in my personal life. So we were praying for about a year. And then the Christian Aid job came up. Give thanks to God for the job, accept it, and then let him use you.
Amen.
And that's how I came to Christian Aid.
Amen. Amanda, it's amazing, your journey, but it's been a wonderful way in which God has had his hand in your life, and he's brought you through the highs of spiritual high top to the lows of despondency, but yet you have been able to interpret and turn everything around to what you're doing now and who you are now. And I just want to thank you for sharing that with us. And I pray that in this new role that you have, which you've just had for just 1 year, that God will use you as a wonderful example. And in your ministry, it's a wonderful ministry to give up service to people, as you have asked, in deprived countries as well. So may God bless you.
Thank you so much. God bless you.